Welcome to a conversation with a community leader, sponsored by Leadership Kitsap, and I am your host, Cary Bozeman, the former mayor of Bremerton and Bellevue, Washington, and it's my pleasure today to welcome another community leader, someone who's making a difference in our community every day, Connie Mueller.
Thank you.
Welcome,
It's
Connie.
nice to be here. Thank you.
It's good to have you. I looked at your resume, and you and I hadn't met before this, but I've heard about you, and I know of you. And I want to read just a minute for the audience. Connie Mueller has been involved in nonprofit work on behalf of children and youth since 1980, right?
Yes.
That's a long time ago. You and I started about the same time. She joined the board of Bainbridge Youth Services in 1992 and became the executive director in 95. She joined the Commission of Children and Youth in 1996 and was the chair for 2 years. She joined Kitsap Community Resources in 1996 to 2001. I think you were on the board.
I was, yes.
And then you joined the agency as the Headstart operator manager and becoming your current position, which is the
Early Learning and Family Services Director.
Okay. So you've led a life of dedicated service in the nonprofit world.
That's right.
And you and I share some of that because I spent 29 years working for the Boys and Girls Club of America.
Yes, that's a great organization.
It is a great organization. And when I first started, it was only Boys Club of America. And my club was the first one to start taking girls into membership in 1972.
Good for you.
Yes, that's of all the things I've ever done in my life, that was the most significant. Now there's over 20 million girls that have been through the program.
Right.
That was before Title IX and all of that. So, well, welcome.
Thank you.
Before we talk, what's your background? Where are you from? What brought you to where you are today?
Well, I'm originally from California. Moved up here in
Whereabouts?
Northern California, Saratoga, Santa Cruz. And then moved to Bainbridge Island. I was working for Hewlett-Packard as a statistician.
What brought you from California to
Sailboat racing.
sailboat racing?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, my
what
husband.
kind of boat?
It was a Thunderbird class. And my husband helped build this boat, and he came up with the other fellow, and they raced it. And Andy literally said, "This is where we're going to live, and you can join me when you can get transferred up." And he just stayed, and so we've been here since 1975.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Puget Sound is mostly made up of immigrants, right, from other places, and we never leave.
That's right.
And even with 22 days of rain like we've had, some way we get through it, and we get onto those days where we always think that's the way it always is, sunny and beautiful.
Yeah, coming from Santa Cruz, which is a beach side, never thought I would come to the Northwest. And the day I came, I fell in love with it.
Yeah, well, it's a beauty.
It is. It's
and
amazing.
If you're a sailor, there's no place better to boat.
Sailor, hiker.
Hiker,
right? Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
So, working in my husband's construction business for quite a while and we had 2 daughters. And I noticed that there were a lot of kids getting into trouble, having kegers
on Bainbridge Island?
On Bainbridge, out in the woods, and getting busted by the police all the time because they had no place to go. And so right around 1980, I started working with a couple of other ladies to try and get a teen center.
Do you have a degree in something relative to this work?
Just social and human services.
Oh, so you do?
Yeah, right. So anyway, long story short, we were able to, with the help of Commissioner Horsley at the time, get some money together to put a portable on the high school for the teen center for kids to hang out. And it's still there.
Oh, the teen center's still there?
It's still there.
I'll be darned. And you started that in 1980?
82.
82.
We started the campaign. The 1992 kids were the first actual graduates from there, so it took us 10 years.
That's quite a legacy.
It really turned out to be, yes.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of passed on from class to class, but it was I think one of the accomplishments of my career is to get that going. Because
did you manage it also?
No, we had a volunteer.
It was all volunteer?
All volunteer, and then finally after a few years we had to hire someone that would be on site managing it. because the kids needed that kind of support. And volunteers are wonderful, but they sometimes have other things they need to do.
What is a teen center?
Well, this was a place where there was a pool table, there was computers, there was
So kids could hang out after
just
school?
to hang out after school. We would serve hot meals on weekends and on the holidays. We had people who would come in and help tutor if they needed it.
Mm-hmm.
But mostly it was just a safe place for kids to go and hang out.
That's what a Boys and Girls Club is.
Right,
kind of,
right, yeah.
you know.
So this is a very small
Right.
Boys and Girls Club, if you
Right.
will.
Did the school district financially support it at all, or?
Well, the only way, they supported it in that they allowed us to put the teen center on the school property. So it was right there,
Yeah.
right behind the school.
Is that same building still there?
Yes, it's still
Oh,
there.
darn.
It's still there.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was a great thing
Yeah,
for those kids.
Good for you.
Mhm.
Good legacy. Before we get into all the questions I have for you about what you do and where you do it at Kitsap Community Resources, which is an amazing organization.
It is.
What do you do when you're not doing that stuff?
Well,
You
I'm
still sailing?
no, unfortunately, I'm not sailing anymore.
Okay.
But you know, I do get out as much as I can. I used to backpack quite a bit. Now, at this particular age, I'm not doing that as
You're
much.
young. What are you talking about this particular age? Come on.
And but I do, you know, I'm on the Commissioner of Children and Youth Board, and I do work a lot of with the kids outside of the.
Uh-huh. My wife is like you. She's a hard worker. She got a busy job, but she's a knitter and sewer, and so we built her a studio a few years ago. So she can just go out on weekends. She just says, "I don't want to talk to anybody. Just goes to my studio." And,
Yeah.
and so you have to have, when you work in a job like yours, where you're just so personally engaged with it, you have to have something to get away from that.
Well, you know, I do. I get home. I have a dog. We go walking. I have very good friends that I do things with. You know,
Yeah.
away from here. I'm not a hobby person.
Yeah.
I might have to when I retire develop a hobby, but
Yeah,
at this
you've got
point,
a hobby. It's called work.
it's work. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it.
So you're a director at Kitsap Community Resources. Let's talk a little bit about who they are and
Okay.
what their mission is and what do you guys do. I think they're kind of an unkept, I think they're kind of a little bit of an unknown in our community.
Yes.
For all the things Kitsap, everybody calls them KCR, right?
Correct.
For all the things they do, I'm not sure the public is that aware.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising because we've been there for 55 years.
I know that.
And we're a community action agency, and our mission is to provide hope and
What is a community action agency?
It's an agency that, a nonprofit agency that provides resources through the community that are either federally or state
So
funded.
it's mostly government
Funded.
Okay.
Mostly state, mostly federal and state funded. There's some county funding in there, in Department of Commerce, that type of thing.
So what does KCR do?
Well, we do a number of things. We have several divisions. One is my division, which is Early Learning and Family Services, and within that we have the Head Start program for children ages 3 to 5. We have Early Head Start for children, which actually starts prenatal to age 3. We have the
So Head Start means you have a facility where young kids between the ages of whatever.
actually from prenatal to age 5.
So they can show up at school early, right?
Prepared. Right, it's for low-income children from 100% below poverty for a Head Start, 130% below for the state-funded ECAP
What are
program.
those numbers in real dollars?
Well, Head Start right now we have just about, between Head Start and Early Head Start, it's 3,600,000.
But I'm talking about what are the incomes that qualify people?
Oh, I'm sorry. For a
Yeah.
family of 4, it's $26,000 a year.
Wow, that's not much money.
No, it's not. And we're working really hard to try to get that percentage up to at least 150 to 185%, because that is still at what we call maybe the working poor.
Yeah, yeah.
And but in our families right now, the 90% of them have to be at 100% or below. We're allowed to have 10% over income. But the point is to serve the neediest of the needy.
So we've all heard the word Head Start, early learning. What is Head Start?
Well, Head Start actually comes from President Johnson's War on Poverty, and it was primarily designed for low-income children to have a head start on getting into school. So they call it, right now we're calling it school readiness.
So was this pre-kindergarten?
It's all pre-kindergarten.
Okay.
And so when
And the Bremerton School District provides free kindergarten, right?
They do. They have what they call developmental preschools.
Yeah.
And we partner with them. And some of our classes are called inclusion classes, in which we have our typically developing Head Start children with the developing, the non-typically developing, or kids who have special needs, are in the same classroom. And the purpose of that is that the typically developing learn that the kids who have disabilities are not any different than they are, and the kids with disabilities don't feel any different.
Right.
So it's a really wonderful,
That's a great program.
wonderful way for kids to kind
Immersion.
of get past that. Yes.
Is that the word?
Yeah, you could use that word. I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah. But it is really just to get rid of those biases and have our children understand that a friend is a friend, regardless of their ability. So we have the Head Start program, as I say, that's ages 3 to 5. And then we have early Head Start, which are children, well, mothers prenatal, up to age 3, also have to be.
Wow. So they, from birth to age 3? So people are bringing into your program young babies?
Babies.
And you're putting them in...
into the infant room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we have infants, waddlers, toddlers, and preschoolers.
Wow.
Yeah. And we do home visitation too. We have 50 home visitation.
Is this a federal program?
Yes, it is. This
So
is
you
federal.
100% funded through federal grants?
Correct. Right. We get a grant for Head Start and a separate
You
grant.
get a per student grant, for every child in the program,
Right.
you get an allocation of money?
Correct.
Okay.
We do. And then we have the ECAP program, which is state funded. It's basically the exact same program, where we do get
So when
funded by
the children
slots.
3 to 5 come to you, no, 0 to 3, what do you call that?
Early Head Start.
Early Head Start. What happens how long are they there?
Until their 3rd birthday.
Okay, how long during the day are they there?
10 hours.
They're there all day? Wow, so mom or dad drop them off at 6?
Whenever they get in the morning, well, usually, 6:30, 7 o'clock.
6:30?
Until 5:30, 6 o'clock, it depends.
Wow. And they don't pay for that?
They have, they don't pay for 6 hours of that time.
But it's only for low-income kids?
Only for low-income kids.
Wow.
As I say,
That's a great program.
there are 10% that can be over income, but that still it's under 200% of poverty, so they're still pretty much in need. So 6 hours of that day is funded by Head Start or Early Head Start.
Now, what would be the difference in that and what we used to call daycare?
Well, this has a regular curriculum.
Oh, okay.
And it in line with what the school district would expect their kids to come in with. So we use creative curriculum and teaching strategies gold, which is in keeping with the WA kids, so that we can test the kids. We test the kids 3 times a year, and then they compare it to what their WA kids scores are to see how well they've come in. And our kids have come in at or above the expectation. So
oh, that's great.
it's been
so
good.
the 3 to 5-year-olds, they come in, and how long are they there?
Well, there are 2 classes there that are 10 hours, or 6 hours with before and after childcare. And then we have 3 classes that are just 6 hours. It's called extended day. And then we have the other classes are part day, part year, which means they come in for 3.5 hours a day, 4 days a week, from September through May.
Wow. Do you have trouble finding staff for these kind of programs?
Yes, we do. We have trouble finding staff that qualify, because all of our staff have to have a degree. And we do bring in staff if they're close to a degree and help them get their degree. But finding qualified people that'll come in at the wages that that we pay, or this industry pays, is difficult. We lose a lot to the school district and that sort of thing. So retention has always been an issue.
Yeah.
We kind of consider ourselves a
Is
good
there
training
some kind
ground.
of certification that these people have to be able to work in that environment?
Well, they have to have what's a CDA, which is a certification, but we require that they should have an AA if they're like a teacher's aide, and a BA or better if they're a teacher.
Oh, okay. How many sites do you have, and how many kids do you have?
We have 9 sites.
Wow, 9 sites? You're in charge of 9 sites?
9 sites.
Where are they?
Well, primarily in Bremerton, and then we have 2 sites in Silverdale, and then 1 in Paulsbo. But
All at schools?
No. The Paulsbo is on school grounds. It's a portable that we own, and they gave us space for it. Silverdale is at the old church down in Old Town Silverdale. And then I have our WIC program in the Martha Mary office up above there by the high school.
Yeah.
And then primarily, though, we are in Bremerton West. We have 2 in East Bremerton, and then the rest are in West Bremerton.
And what's the relationship you have with the schools?
Well, we have a long relationship with the Bremerton School District. We've been partnering.
Betty Hyde was a good friend of mine, and I know she is a saint when it comes to this kind of thing.
She is, and she's made she created a lot of progress.
She did.
And
she was a leader in this issue, on this issue.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's sort of where the inclusion classrooms are happening. And on the Naval Avenue campus, we have a full day, full year, which is the 10-hour day, where we have a building that has infants, tots, and
I was talking to, matter of fact, your director the other day, who said, because when I was mayor, we started the Boys and Girls Club at Naval Avenue, and he said they're leaving and you guys are taking over that portable?
Well, yes, they have left, and
did they just close
they've just moved over to the new building across on Warren Avenue.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
good.
It's all over there now in that big gym there.
Yeah.
And the portables that we're housed in now, unfortunately, are aging so much that they're needing a lot of repair, and so the school district has been very kind to allow us to renovate and move into the Boys and Girls Club building, which is a lot newer, and so that's what we're hoping to do this summer.
Wow. Are you year-round, the program? Is it year-round?
The only year-round are our early Head Start and our 10-hour classes. The 6 hours they are 11 months out of the year, not 12, but might as well consider that full year.
Are you able to take in all the kids that want to come?
Unfortunately, no.
Oh, is that right?
No.
There's a waiting list?
There's a waiting list, especially for the 6-hour extended day classes and for toddlers. Those seem to be our neediest children right now, the biggest population.
And the reason you can't take more is funding, or space, or both?
Well, it's both. Space is a huge issue, and that facilities is a major concern of ours right now. But we are only funded for so many children. And so we're limited to how many children we can have in a classroom. So that does limit to who we can serve. Fortunately, there are other partners in our community that also serve Head Start and Early Head Start, so we share.
Has the federal government continued to fund this at a pretty good level?
They've been...
We worry a little bit about cutting back on some of these social programs.
Right. Head Start actually got over a $5 million increase this year.
So does the federal money run through the state and then you deal with the state?
No, it runs directly.
Oh, it does?
It comes directly through us.
Is there an office around here?
Yes, there's a regional office in Seattle called Region 10, and we have what we call a program specialist that works with us and a grant specialist that works with us, and they're great partners. And like in this situation, we needed to find some emergency facilities so we can move out of the
Mm-hmm.
substandard building into the Boys and Girls Club, and they're working really hard with us to help us fund that. And you couldn't ask for a better relationship. So, and especially since it's, you know, on school
What is
property.
what are the biggest challenges for these families that you're caring for?
Well, a lot of it is housing
Yeah.
and transportation. Those are the two biggies right there.
You have a lot of homeless kids in your program?
We have
Some?
quite a few. We have
You do?
quite a few. I couldn't give you the exact percentage today, but it's usually there's 10, 15 families at any one time
Wow.
that are literally experiencing homelessness.
Living out of their car or something like that?
Yeah, there's some living out of their cars. There's some, you know, living in other people's homes.
Is the problem, let's talk a little bit about homelessness, even though, can you still get, are Section 8 vouchers still available? And is there, if you even had a Section 8 voucher, could you find a place to stay?
Well, there are still, Section 8 is still available, but it takes a long time to get into a Section 8. There's such a long wait list for that.
Yeah.
Some of the issue that we feel is causing some of the homelessness is that with Section 8, the landlords can get market value rents now, and it's so high that some of them aren't taking Section 8. But those that do, you know, aren't few. They're not enough of those.
So we need to build some more affordable housing, right?
Affordable housing is the #1 issue, I think, for our county. Yes.
I agree with that.
Because from 2005 to now, you know, rents were, you know, $450 to $550 a month, are now $1,100, $1,200 for a 1-bedroom.
In the last last 3 or 4 years.
Right, it's
I've
gone up
seen
to
it
13 something.
Yeah, gone up. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, when you add the rent plus the childcare, they have to have 2 jobs.
I had 30 questions to ask you today, and
Okay.
we're almost out of time, and I've asked you about 5 of them. This is about leadership. How would you describe your leadership style? You manage a lot of people.
Yeah, I have the largest number of staff in our agency, 102. I hire really good people,
That's the secret.
really good management.
Right.
So they make me look really good.
Yeah.
So I let them do the job that they were hired to do, and I leave them with a lot of autonomy. But we meet regularly to sort of what we call reflective supervision, to make sure that they're getting the supports they need.
Mm-hmm.
And then they also then manage some people that, you know, take on the responsibilities that they no longer have to be directly responsible for. So I guess as a leader, I think that I'm very trusting, and I think that I need to let people do the job they were hired to do, and if they need help, I'm there.
Well, you got a big job, and you're affecting a lot of lives every day.
Well, my team is.
Your team is.
Yes.
And you're changing those lives.
Yes,
for the
we
better.
have. We've got
I
some
was
amazing
a foster
success.
kid myself.
Oh, were you? Okay.
And lived in, matter of fact, I was homeless my senior year in high school.
Mm.
And, you know, they call it couch
Surfing.
with all your buddies.
Right.
So I was very fortunate. I had some foster parents that were really, one in particular, family that was really great and made a difference in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I so admire what you do and what your staff does. So
We do have some wonderful success stories.
last question is, but you're 95 or 98% federal, state funded. Is there room in this operation for private funding?
Absolutely. That is one thing that I think our agency as a whole is working towards, is that we need to find more donations or sponsors and things to do, because there are programs that we can't do because we can't get funded.
Yeah.
Parenting education being one.
Yeah.
We had to drop most of that program because there's no funding
Does
any
United,
longer.
do you have any connection to United Way?
Not directly, just, you know, mostly through Kitsap Strong.
Okay. Well, someday we'll have another program and we'll talk about all of that.
Sounds good.
And the future of being able to do that.
Sounds
I so appreciate what you do for the community.
Well, thank you for
You're
having me.
one of those heroes in our community. So Thank you for, this has been another conversation with a community leader. I'm Cary Bozeman. This program is hosted and sponsored by Leadership Kitsap, and we'll see you next time with another community leader.
Leadership Kitsap is our community's civic leadership program. Leadership Kitsap fosters and empowers educated, prepared, and engaged community leaders. For over 25 years, we have cultivated leaders that work collaboratively to create positive change, dedicated to making our community a better place to work and live. We expose our class to Kitsap's leaders across public, private, and nonprofit sectors. We're happy to bring many of the conversations with these leaders to you. Strong leaders build strong communities.